There are moments in life, moments so heavy that they threaten to break even the strongest of spirits. Moments when the world, the same world that once clapped for you, cheered for you, bowed at your greatness, suddenly turns cold, turns distant, turns cruel. And this is a story of a man who faced that darkness head on. A man who lost everything except the fire within his own chest. A man who refused to bow when life demanded it. A man the world knows as Muhammad Ali. But the man you're about to meet lived in a storm few could survive. Before he shook the world, before he became the face of greatness. Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr. was just a skinny kid from Louisville, Kentucky. A kid who didn't have much. A kid who never truly fit the world he was born into. A world full of rules, limits, and locked doors. And if life hadn't pushed him, maybe the world would have never known him. But life did push him. Hard. At age 12, someone stole his bike. A red Schwinn. His treasure. His pride. And as young Clay stood there crying, fist trembling, heart burning with frustration, a police officer overheard him threatening to beat the thief up. The officer looked at him and said words that would shape everything that followed. Before you try fighting someone, you'd better learn how to fight. That single line was destiny knocking on a door that little Cassius Clay didn't even know existed. In that small boxing gym, drenched in the smell of sweat and hope, the boy hit the bag for the first time. And the bag hit back. But Clay didn't quit. He didn't walk away. He threw another punch. Then another. Then another. There are children who try boxing. There are children who like boxing. But Cassius Clay needed boxing. It was the only place where he wasn't a skinny kid. The poor kid. The kid expected to stay exactly where he was born. In the ring, he was free. Clay rose fast. Too fast for those who didn't believe in miracles. He won fights people said he shouldn't. He danced in ways boxers weren't supposed to dance. He talked with confidence. Confidence people said a young black man was not allowed to have in that era. But he didn't just talk. He earned every word. Olympic gold at 18. A professional record that made the world whisper his name. And then, the night that changed everything, the fight against Sonny Liston. Liston was a monster, a giant, a destroyer. Clay? A loudmouth kid. Experts said he wouldn't last 3 rounds. Some said he wouldn't survive one. But when the bell rang, the kid moved like lightning. He confused Liston, frustrated him, beat him, and shook the world. When Liston quit on his stool, Cassius Clay ran around the ring shouting words that would echo through generations. I am the greatest. I said that even before I knew I was. The world had no choice but to look at him, to listen to him, to recognize him. But greatness, true greatness, always comes with price. And his bill was coming. Soon after becoming champion, Clay announced something that stunned the nation. He was now Muhammad Ali, a name reborn, a name that symbolized freedom, a name that declared he refused to be anything but himself. Some celebrated him. Most didn't. Commentators mocked him. Old fans turned away. Promoters warned him. Reporters attacked him. Doors that once opened wide, now slammed in his face. But Ali didn't fold. He didn't step back into a quiet box the world tried to place him in. He stood tall, chest up, voice firm, and he kept fighting, inside and outside of the ring. Then came the moment that turned admiration into hatred. The draft, the call to join the war. Ali, with the world watching, with his entire career on the line, refused. He stood in front of cameras, microphones, judges, enemies, and said words that would burn themselves into history. I ain't got no quarrel with them. Why should they ask me to put on a uniform and go 10,000 miles from home to drop bombs when so-called freedom is denied to my people right here? Those words shook the nation. Overnight, Muhammad Ali went from hero to villain, from champion to traitor, from beloved to hated. People who once cheered his name demanded he be jailed. Fans threw away his posters. Media pulled the trigger on him every single day. And the government, they delivered the final blow. They stripped him of his heavyweight title, suspended him from boxing, took away his license, and banned him in every state. Imagine being on top of the world and having everything ripped away in an instant. He wasn't defeated in the ring. He wasn't knocked out. He wasn't beaten. He was erased by the same world that once bowed at his feet. Ali was 25, in his prime, physically perfect, unmatched, unstoppable. And suddenly, he had no ring, no platform, no income, no future. Most men collapse under that weight. Most break, most fade, but not Ali. He traveled city to city, giving speeches for little or no pay, sharing his message, defending his beliefs, fighting, not with gloves, but with words. But even then, the world wasn't done breaking him. Friends abandoned him. Supporters disappeared. Critics attacked him relentlessly. He lost precious years he could never get back. Years of his youth, years of earning, years of glory. And still, he stood firm. After 3 years, 7 months, and 26 days, Ali was finally allowed to fight again. But the world didn't welcome him. They questioned him, mocked him, told him he was slow, old, and finished. Some said this was karma. Some said he would embarrass himself. Some said his time was over. But Ali didn't return for money, or fame, or applause. He returned because the fire inside him was not done burning. And just when it looked like he had fought through the darkest storm of his life, just when he thought he had weathered every blow, the world threw him into the most brutal, unforgiving test he had ever faced. A challenge so dangerous that even his own team begged him to walk away. The bell rang, and the crowd leaned forward as Muhammad Ali stepped back into the ring for the first time in nearly 4 years. But something was different. The rhythm, the speed, the magical dance the world once adored. It wasn't fully there. The layoff had stolen something from him, something time never gave back. But Ali wasn't afraid of losing speed. He was afraid of losing purpose. His comeback fight against Jerry Quarry was supposed to answer one question. Was Muhammad Ali still Muhammad Ali? And the truth? He wasn't. Not yet. But he was still something the world didn't understand. He was a man who had walked through fire and came out with the ashes still burning on his skin. That night, as he raised his hands in victory, the cheers returned. But they were not the same. Years earlier, those cheers had been loud, joyful, certain. Now, they were hesitant, weak, doubtful, as if the world didn't know whether to embrace him or wait for him to fall. Ali heard it. He felt it. He lived it. And he knew why. He hadn't come back to prove he could win a fight. He had come back to prove he was still alive. But destiny wasn't about to greet him with open arms. It had one more test waiting. The kind of test designed to break even legends. Joe Frazier, a man who had carried boxing on his back during Allah's absence. A man who fought with the power of a sledgehammer and the hunger of a starved lion. A man treated like the real champion during Allah's exile. But most importantly, a man who hated Ali, who felt Ali mocked him, belittled him, disrespected him. And Frazier wanted revenge, not for boxing, for pride. The world circled the fight with a storm of noise. The fight of the century, they called it. Ali versus Frazier. The return of a king against the man occupying his throne. And for the first time in his life, Muhammad Ali felt unsure. He stood alone one night in his training camp, the world asleep, the moonlight touching his gloves as he shadow boxed in silence. His punches weren't fast enough. His feet weren't sharp enough. His lungs weren't forgiving enough. He stopped suddenly, chest heaving, sweat running down his face. And for a moment, just a moment, Ali felt fear. Not fear of Frazier, but fear that the world was right. Had time taken too much? Had prison stolen what no opponent ever could? Had the champion truly lost the magic? He walked over to the mirror hanging on the wall, looked at his own reflection, studied the scars of a life fought both inside and outside the ring. Then he whispered to himself, "You didn't come this far to break now." Champions aren't built when people cheer. They are built when people don't believe. And he went back to training. March 8, 1971. Madison Square Garden. A night wrapped in electricity that shook the air. Ali walked toward the ring, not floating, not dancing, walking. Heavy, determined. Frazier glared at him from across the ring, jaw clenched, fists tight, eyes burning with 10 years of resentment. The bell rang, and Ali was tested instantly. Frazier's punches sounded like thunder. Left hook after left hook, crashing into Allah's ribs, Allah's arms, Allah's jaw. The crowd roared as Ali fought back with speed, jab after jab, trying to find the old rhythm. But every time he tried to float, Frazier dragged him back to the ground. The fight was brutal, not beautiful, not elegant, raw, ugly, war. Allah's legs grew heavy. His arms felt leaden. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth, and his chest burned as he tried to breathe. Across the ring, Frazier was relentless, smiling between punches, feeding off Allah's struggle, feeding off the years of tension between them. Round after round, Ali was caught in a storm he couldn't dance away from. He kept punching, kept talking, kept trying. But every blow from Frazier seemed like the world itself hitting him for every decision he'd ever made. Then came the round that would haunt him forever. Round 15, the final round. Ali stood in his corner, exhausted, broken, his face swollen, his legs shaking. His trainer whispered through his fear, "Just survive. Don't let him finish you." Ali didn't answer. He stepped forward anyway, because that's who he was. He wasn't fighting for a belt, or revenge, or validation. He was fighting for his own soul. Frazier charged in like a battering ram, punishing hooks, crushing body shots. Ali stumbling, holding on, trying to breathe. Then it happened, the moment that froze the world. Frazier's left hook shot out like lightning. It caught Ali clean, full force, snapping his head back and sending him crashing to canvas. The crowd exploded. The commentators screamed. Even Allah's own corner gasped. The world had turned on him once, and now it was watching him fall. Ali lay there, staring at the lights. Every dream he fought for, every sacrifice he made, every year he lost, everything he believed about himself, being crushed by a single punch. The referee began to count. 1, 2, 3. Ali blinked. His lungs screamed. His body begged him to stay down. 4, 5. The world watched, some hoping he'd rise, most expecting him not to. 6. His fingers twitched. He felt the canvas under his gloves. Cold, hard, unforgiving, just like life had been these past years. 7. He pushed one knee up. Barely. 8. He forced himself higher, trembling, broken, hurting. 9. And he stood, barely alive, barely holding on, but standing. He finished the fight on his feet, refusing to surrender, refusing to give the world the satisfaction of watching him quit. But he lost. The undefeated Muhammad Ali, the man who once declared himself the greatest, walked out of Madison Square Garden without his crown. The world didn't comfort him. The critics didn't hold back. Many said he was exposed, finished, a shadow, a man who came back only to embarrass himself. Ali heard every word, every whisper, every insult, and in the darkest moments, alone, bruised, and aching, he wondered if they were right. He wondered if maybe this was the end. But somewhere deep inside him, buried beneath the pain, the doubt, the humiliation, a spark remained. A spark that refused to die. A spark that whispered, "This is not how your story ends." And that spark would ignite the greatest comeback the world had ever seen. But before that comeback came a trial even more brutal. A journey even darker. A battle not against a man, but against himself. And that, he woke up the next morning with pain that didn't feel like pain anymore. It felt like a memory carved into his bones. Every step hurt. Every breath hurt. Even blinking hurt. Muhammad Ali had tasted loss before, but this was different. This was public, worldwide, unavoidable. He sat alone in his room, the sunlight bleeding through the curtains, touching the bruises on his face like a reminder of everything he had endured. Ali had always been a man who talked loud, who shined bright, who carried an aura no one could match. But now, the world watched him differently. Reporters circled him like vultures. Fans questioned whether they should still believe. Critics sharpened their words like knives. At breakfast that morning, he lifted a spoon toward his mouth and felt his hands tremble. For a second, he wondered if this was it. If the punishment he had taken was too much. If maybe Joe Frazier had taken something from him that night that he would never get back. But fear doesn't break champions. It challenges them. Ali set the spoon down, leaned back, and whispered to himself the same words he used to chant as a young boy running in the Louisville streets. I shall rise again. And he meant it, because even though the world saw defeat, Ali felt something else. Something unexplainable. Something alive, crawling beneath the bruises, pulsing under his ribs. Not anger, not bitterness, not revenge, purpose. People thought the comeback fight with Frazier was his final act, but Ali knew better. His story, his true story, hadn't even begun yet, so he returned to training. Not with cameras watching, not with the spotlight, but in quiet halls, empty gyms, in the early mornings when the world was still asleep, in the late nights when the world had forgotten his name. He jogged in the cold. He hit the bag until his knuckles burned. He jumped rope until sweat drowned the floor. He sparred with young fighters who were faster, fresher, hungrier. And every day, people asked him one question. Why are you still doing this? Why not retire? Ali never looked away when he answered, because I haven't given the world my best yet. But even with the relentless training, the doubts remained. He would lie awake at night replaying the Frazier fight in his mind. The knockdown, the crowd, the count, the loss. It haunted him. It chased him. And sometimes, it caught him. Once, late at night, Ali sat on the edge of his bed, staring at his hands. Maybe they're right, he whispered. Maybe I don't have it anymore. But then he clenched his fists, feeling every scar, every ripple, every memory of every war he had survived, inside and outside the ring. No, he muttered. No, that's not how this story ends. He rose from the bed and shadow boxed in the dark until the sun came up. Still, the journey back wasn't easy. People had new heroes, new champions, new faces to believe in. Ali was no longer the future. He was a question mark, a maybe, a once was. Each comeback fight felt like climbing a mountain with weights tied to his feet. His legs weren't what they used to be. His speed wasn't the same. The butterfly was slower now, but the sting was smarter. Ali began relying on something people said he never had before: strategy, wisdom, patience. He took punches he used to dodge, not because he was weak, but because he understood something deeper now. Sometimes in life, you have to take the hit to land the one that matters. And slowly, the world noticed. Slowly, the cheers returned. Slowly, the doubts faded. But one name still overshadowed him: Joe Frazier. Ali beat men after Frazier. He outsmarted them. He punished them. He wore them out. But no matter who he defeated, the question remained: can he beat Frazier now? And Ali knew what everyone else knew. If he couldn't beat Frazier, he would never reclaim the throne. So when the rematch was announced, the world shook again. Years had passed since their first war. Ali had rebuilt himself piece by piece, like a man stitching together a broken legacy. Frazier, on the other hand, had suffered his own defeats, his own setbacks. Both men were older now, slower, but somehow hungrier. The days leading up to the rematch were intense. Ali spoke with fire, with theater, with confidence. It was classic Ali. But inside he felt the weight of destiny pulling at him. If he lost this one, the world wouldn't forgive him. They would bury him under the label of finished. They would say Frazier beat him twice. They would say Ali was never the greatest. But if he won, he wouldn't just defeat Joe Frazier. He would defeat time, defeat doubt, defeat the world that turned on him. The night of the fight arrived. As Ali walked toward the ring, the lights blazed above him, shining down like a spotlight on a man who had walked through fire and lived. He moved slower than he once did, but with more power in every step, more meaning, more truth. The bell rang. The fight began. Ali jabbed. Frazier lunged. Ali danced, slower but sharp. Frazier attacked, harder, more determined. Ali hit him again. Frazier answered. It wasn't beautiful. It was a reminder of two men carrying the weight of their legacies on their backs, refusing to bow. Ali's punches landed cleaner. His timing was perfect. His composure, unshakable. In the later rounds, as Frazier charged in, Ali whispered between jabs, "You can't beat me, Joe. Not tonight." And he meant it. When the final bell rang, the world waited, breathless. The judges delivered the score. Muhammad Ali had won. He stepped back, raised his hands, and looked up at the ceiling like he was thanking something beyond the ring. He hadn't won a belt. He hadn't proven anything to the critics. He hadn't silenced the world. He had proven something to himself, that he still belonged, that he was still Ali, that he was still alive. But deep down, he knew there was one mountain left to climb, one man left to conquer, one war left to fight. George Foreman, a monster, a giant, a knockout machine destroying everyone in his path. People said Foreman would break him, crush him, end him. Some even feared Ali would die in that ring. And Ali listened to every prediction, every warning, every fear. Then he smiled, because this was the moment he had been waiting for. But what no one knew, not his team, not the critics, not even the fans who loved him, was the secret plan Ali was hiding deep inside. A plan so dangerous, so risky, so unthinkable, that the world would only understand it years later. And that plan, that gamble, that insane, fearless strategy, George Foreman, that name alone carried weight. The kind of weight that crushed reputations, ended careers, and silenced arenas. Foreman was not just a champion. He was a storm. A powerful, terrifying force built like a concrete wall with dynamite in both fists. He had destroyed Joe Frazier. He had destroyed Ken Norton. Men who had beaten Ali were now lying on the canvas in under 3 minutes, unconscious, helpless, left broken by a man who seemed engineered to knock the soul out of whoever stood in front of him. And now, Muhammad Ali was expected to fight him. The world didn't call it a challenge. They called it suicide. Ali walked down the street one afternoon before the fight, and strangers didn't even try to hide their fear for him. "Champ, don't do this. He'll kill you. You won't last 3 rounds." Even some of Ali's closest friends whispered behind closed doors, wondering if they should try to stop the fight. Not because they doubted his heart, but because they feared for his life. Ali heard it all. Every doubt, every prediction, every criticism, every plea for him to quit. But he ignored them, because deep inside, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Not fear, but destiny whispering. The fight would take place far from America, in the heart of Africa. Zaire, a land that welcomed Ali like a king returning home. When his plane landed, thousands chanted his name through the night. Ali, Bame! Ali, Bame! Ali, kill him! Their voices echoed through the streets, their songs filling the air with a rhythm that wrapped itself around Ali's soul. For the first time in a long time, he wasn't fighting alone. The continent embraced him as their son, their symbol, their warrior. But even with the love, the energy, the support, Ali knew the truth. He was walking into the ring against the most dangerous man alive. Days before the fight, he watched Foreman train. The way he hit the heavy bag terrified even the trainers. The impact sounded like a shotgun blast. The bag shook, swung, and nearly tore from its chains. Ali watched quietly as the earth beneath his feet seemed to vibrate from the force. He didn't say a word, didn't smile, didn't joke. He just walked away. That night, while his team slept, Ali sat up alone, hands clasped together, the moonlight spilling over him like a spotlight from the heavens. He had never admitted it out loud, but he knew what he was up against. Foreman was younger, stronger, bigger, more powerful, and almost everyone believed he would destroy Ali. Ali closed his eyes and whispered to himself, "Greatness is not measured by comfort. It's measured in fire." He opened his eyes and stared into the darkness. Then he whispered again, "I didn't come here to survive. I came here to win." And so he prepared something the world had never seen. A strategy so strange, so insane, so opposite of everything Ali had ever been known for, that even his own trainers argued against it. He kept it a secret, a whisper within his own heart, a gamble only a man who refused to accept defeat would dare try. Fight night, October 30th, 1974. The stadium blazed with energy. The air was thick and humid. The crowd chanted as if their voices alone could push the moon across the sky. "Ali, Bame! Ali, Bame!" Ali walked toward the ring, shoulders back, chin up, not dancing, not joking, just present, focused. His eyes locked on Foreman, who stood across the ring with the calm expression of a man who knew he could end a life with a single punch. The bell rang. Foreman attacked with the fury of a man built for destruction. Hooks, crosses, uppercuts, each punch exploding like thunder. Ali covered up, leaned back, absorbed impact after impact. The crowd watched in confusion. This wasn't Ali. Where was the dancing? The floating? The poetry in motion? Instead, Ali leaned on the ropes, letting Foreman throw bombs, letting Foreman burn energy, letting Foreman punch himself out. The commentators panicked. Ali is finished. He's letting Foreman destroy him. What is he doing? But Ali wasn't being destroyed. Ali was waiting. His arms ached. His ribs screamed. His shoulders burned. But he whispered through clenched teeth every time Foreman unloaded. Is that all you got, George? You hit like a baby. You can't break me. Round after round, the plan continued. Foreman swung harder. Ali leaned deeper into the ropes. Sweat flew. Blood dripped. The rope stretched. But Ali stayed calm. He whispered again. You tired yet, big man? Foreman didn't answer, but Ali could feel it. The power slipping, the strength fading, the storm breaking. By round 7, Foreman's hands were lower, his punches slower, his breathing heavy, his eyes confused, and Ali smiled. This was the moment he had waited for, the moment no one believed he would reach, the moment history itself would lean forward to witness. Round 8, Ali came off the ropes, suddenly alive, suddenly sharp, suddenly faster than the man the world called too old to fight. He slipped Foreman's punch, fired a left, then a right, then another, then a final, perfect right hand straight through Foreman's guard. Foreman stumbled, arms out, eyes wide, and then the giant fell. The stadium erupted. The world froze. George Foreman, the unbeatable monster, lay on the canvas staring up at the African sky while Muhammad Ali stood over him, fists at his sides, chest rising and falling, a man reborn in fire. The referee counted. Foreman could not rise. Muhammad Ali, once exiled, once stripped, once doubted, once defeated, became the heavyweight champion of the world again. He had climbed the mountain. He had silenced the world. He had defied time itself. But victory didn't heal everything, because after the cheers faded, after the celebrations ended, after Ali stood on top of the world again, life threw him one final battle. A battle no opponent could prepare for. A battle no human could avoid. A battle that struck at the very core of who he was. A battle not against man, but against his own body. And that battle is where the final chapter begins. Champions don't rest on victories. They don't stand still when the world cheers. And Muhammad Ali was no different. After defeating George Foreman, after shocking the world, after reclaiming the crown that had been taken from him, Ali didn't sit back or slow down. The roar of the crowd faded, but the fire inside him didn't. He kept fighting, kept training, kept pushing his body further and further, long after people said he should retire as a legend. But life had a different kind of fight waiting for him. It started small, a tremble in his hands, a slowness in his speech, a stiffness in his movements. Trainers said, "Champ, maybe you need a break." Friends said, "Champ, you're pushing too hard." Doctors said, "Champ, something isn't right." But Ali wasn't ready to listen, because champions don't walk away easily, especially not a man who built his legacy on standing tall when the world tried to push him down. So he kept going, kept fighting, kept stepping into the ring with the same fire he had as a young boy shadowboxing on the streets of Louisville. But with each passing fight, something became clearer. His body was failing him, not his spirit, not his heart, not his mind. His body. Every punch he took echoed differently. Every step he made felt heavier. Every word he spoke came slower. And when the diagnosis finally arrived, Parkinson's, the world held its breath. How could the most electric man alive, the man whose voice shook nations, whose feet danced like lightning, whose fists wrote history, suddenly begin to fade before their eyes? People expected him to break, to collapse, to disappear from the spotlight, to let the disease silence him. But they forgot one thing. This was Muhammad Ali, the man who lost everything and came back, the man who was exiled and rose again, the man who was doubted and became a legend, the man who was told he couldn't, and then did. So when the world waited for him to crumble, Ali stood up straighter. He walked slower, but he walked with purpose. He spoke softer, but he spoke with fire. He shook, but his courage never wavered. He did not hide. He did not complain. He did not surrender. He transformed. Ali became more than a boxer, more than a champion, more than a legend. He became a symbol of the human spirit, a reminder that even when your body betrays you, your soul can remain undefeated. He lit the Olympic torch in 1996 with trembling hands, yet the world didn't see a man weakened. They saw a man whose flame burned stronger than ever. They saw courage. They saw resilience. They saw the living definition of greatness. He visited hospitals. He encouraged soldiers. He inspired children who felt unwanted, unseen, unimportant. He stood for the oppressed. He spoke for the forgotten. He fought, not with fists, but with heart. And through the years, as his voice grew quieter, his message grew louder. He showed the world that greatness isn't in how hard you hit, but in how many times you rise after being hit. He showed the world that strength isn't the absence of struggle, but the refusal to be defeated by it. He showed the world that success isn't about perfect circumstances, but about unbreakable determination. Muhammad Ali's life, every victory, every loss, every rise, every fall, became a testimony that your story isn't over when the world turns on you. Your story is over when you turn on yourself. And that is the truth he wanted everyone to understand, especially you. Because maybe right now, you're tired, you're scared, you're doubting yourself, you're wondering if your dream is too far, if your progress is too slow, if you should just stop. But hear this. Ali didn't know how close he was to victory when he was pushed out of boxing. He didn't know how close he was when he lost to Frazier. He didn't know how close he was when the world laughed, doubted, ignored him. Yet he kept going, even when he was bruised, even when he was beaten, even when he felt alone, even when he thought the world had forgotten him. He kept going, and his greatest victories came after his greatest heartbreaks. Yours will too. Every setback you face is not the end. Every failure is not your story's closing chapter. Every doubt is not a sign to quit. It is a test, a question, a challenge. Life asks you one thing. How bad do you want it? Because success is always closer than you think. Always just a little further. Always one more push away. One more attempt. One more round. Imagine if Ali had stopped after his exile. Imagine if he had stopped after losing to Frazier. Imagine if he had stopped when his body weakened. Imagine if he believed the critics. Imagine if he quit. There would be no legend, no legacy, no unforgettable comeback, no symbol of hope for the world. The world tries to break you right before it rewards you. The darkness gets deepest right before the dawn. The path gets steepest right before the summit. And the dream feels farthest right before it's reached. So don't stop. Don't quit. Not now. Not today. Not when you've come this far. You may be tired. You may be hurting. You may be doubting. But you are closer than you think. Stretch your hand a little further. Take one more step. Fight one more round. Hold on a little longer. Because your victory, your breakthrough, your success, your moment may be just 1 inch away. And when you reach it, when you feel it, when you hold it, when you stand on top of your own mountain, you will understand the same truth that carried Muhammad Ali through every storm. Champions are not made in comfort. Champions are made in struggle. So rise, push, fight, believe. Your world may have turned on you, but that only means you're about to turn it back.